All right. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We'll go ahead and get started here. If you got your questions, go ahead and post them. It's going to be below the video if you are on a smaller screen like a mobile device, tablet. If you're on a larger screen like a desktop, laptop, computer, something like that, it's going to be to the right of the video. So I start with questions that were asked up to an hour before. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb here real quick. Sorry. Let me... Just got to text my wife back real quick. Ask me if we need anything from the store. I'm just going to tell her, nope. All right. Good to go. Should be good to go now. So like I said, I start with questions that were asked up to an hour before. So first question here is going to be Fred B. If you happen to post your question more than an hour ago, so let me scroll here. We've got a few people like Jarrell F., David K. There's a few that posted questions. I don't know if that was earlier this afternoon or this weekend or whenever it was. But if you're here and you're waiting to see your question get answered, no worries. Just go ahead and copy and paste your question in there, and we'll get it answered later on in the office hours. The reason why I do that is I want to answer questions for people who I think are here waiting to see their question get answered. If you asked your question at 6 o'clock last night or on Saturday or something like that, I'm guessing you're not waiting here to see your question get answered. But if you are, just copy and paste your question in there and we'll get it answered. So Fred B says, how do I find the Impact Snap Talk by Clay? I'm not talk. So you're talking about videos from Impact Snap. So you can find, if you're not familiar with what the Impact Snap is, it's this training aid right here. It's a great training aid for training a good impact position with the proper wrist angles with the wrists or the proper wrist angles at impact. So highly recommend it. I think it's a great training. It's good to work on it at home. If you want to find some videos that we have on the Impact Snap, go and click the house icon at the top. That will take you to the homepage. And if you look on the right-hand side of the homepage, you'll see where it says Member Quick Links. And in those Member Quick Links, you'll find the Impact Snap videos where you can click here for Impact Snap videos. If you'd like to get an Impact Snap, go to impactsnap.com and use the promo code C Ballard. So C is in Clay, C Ballard, and I believe you get 10% off with that. Full disclaimer, we do get a little bit of a kickback from that, but that just helps us to continue to create videos and great content for you guys. So check that out. Impact Snap's a great training aid to work with for sure. All right, so let's go on to the next question here. George P. says, I had a question about my left leg righty. It appears bent at impact. Follow through which section of drills will help with this problem. I believe it's going to be the power turn and then the straight line release course. There are drills to get that club, basically getting to where you're syncing everything up and getting everything opened up. So there's actually a great video. It's called Release with the Legs, or How to Release the Club with the Legs. I'd be looking at that one. Let me find it real quick for you. I think it's in the power turn course if I'm not mistaken. So release legs, I believe. Oh, it's in the compression line course. So I was wrong there. So in the compression line course, we talk about getting the club to release more with the legs. So that's where I go. That's in level 3. It's video 2.3 from the compression line course. Check that out. To get to the compression line course, click the instruction tab, then click the top speed golf system, then click the compression line level 2, video 3, 2.3, how to use the legs to release the club. That's going to help you to get, because we do want to have some bend in that leg, and then we want to straighten it out through impact, not at impact. We don't want to come into impact like this. We want to have some bend in the leg, and then we release it. So basically that leg doesn't really fully straighten out until basically after the straight line release typically. Now, there are some players that do straighten it out a little bit earlier. You look at Brooks Koepka, basically at impact, a little bit after impact, he's straightening out that leg. But he doesn't have a lot of rotation in the hips. He's more of an upper body driven swinger. Kind of holds the club back a little bit with the upper body. Obviously, that works well for him. He's very strong. He's able to do that. Most people aren't going to be able to hold that back. So Ed D says, could you compare the in-swing fundamentals of the TSG system with the fundamentals of Hogan's 5 lessons? No, I don't remember all of the Hogan's 5 lessons. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that. Are they comparable or just completely different approaches to developing a powerful, repeatable swing? Yeah, again, I'm not really sure. I'm not completely well versed in the Hogan's 5 lessons. Sorry. So Christine G says, hi Q. I'd be interested to hear your opinion on the best drills exercises prior to playing 18 holes. Also, any stretches you feel are important. As a female, I find golf quite tough on my back and hips. Thanks. Basically, what I do is if I have the time to do so, I like to go to the range first, and I'll just start with some wedges and just kind of hit some 50-yard shots. So basically just kind of hit some 50-yard shots, just get a feel for impact. And then I'll go up to like a 75, 80-yard shot. And then I'll go up to like a 100-yard shot with the wedges. And then I'll go up through the bag. I'll go up to the 8-iron, then like a 4-iron, 3-wood driver. Just kind of go up through the bag. And then as I'm going up through the bag, I'll also work on trying to do some shot shapes. So just getting a feel for my face, my path, my ground contact, my strike location, just kind of getting a feel. We're not robots, right? We're not going to go out there and just hit the ball perfectly every single time. You may wake up tomorrow and hit everything off the toe. You may wake up the next day and chunk everything. It's you're going to be you're constantly changing. So your field's constantly changing. You've got to adapt. So as I'm going through my process, I'm going to be taking in information. Okay, I hit that one a little bit thin. All right, let's try to get this one a little bit higher on the face. Or I sliced that one. I need to get the face more closed on the next one. I'm kind of going through and I'm trying to hit some shots with intention. I'm trying to hit some draws and some fades. And I'll basically hit get a couple of them, a draw and a fade and something in between. I'll also maybe try to hit some high and some low shots, and then I'll work my way up through the bag, kind of going that way. Once I do that, then I like to go to the chipping green for a little bit and just hit some wedges around the greens, hit some bump and run type chips, from all different places to different holes, just getting a feel for that swing and how the ball is going to react. Are the greens really firm today? Are they really soft? How's the ball reacting out of this kind of lie, that sort of thing. Just trying to get a feel for things. And then I'll go to the putting green. Typically when I go to the putting green, I like to find a dead straight short putt initially and just kind of roll some putts, just kind of get a feel for the stroke, just some like a 5-6 footer, just try to get a feel for the stroke. And then after that, I just kind of do some intermediate putting where I do 3 balls. And with those 3 balls, one, I'll try to find a putt that has a little bit of break to it. And I'll do one putt where I try to die it in the hole. So it'd be more break, less speed, just trying to die it in the ball. If I imagine the ball rolling by the hole or going through the hole, rolling over top of the hole, it would go less than a foot by the hole. I'm just dying it in there. And then I'll take one that I'll try to ram it in there, right? I'll try to take as much break out as I can and still be able to make it. So that would be a putt that would roll 3 feet or more by the hole, right? And I'll hit one like that, and then I'll hit one in between. That would be somewhere in the 1 to 3 foot range. And that's generally where you like to be when you're putting, somewhere in that 1 to 3 foot range. And what that does is it gives you a really good feel for the speed and how the putts are breaking, and it gets your mind thinking, okay, how am I playing this break? Am I taking a little off, but adding a little bit on, and so on and so forth. So I'll do a few of those, and then I'll just do some lag putts, some putts that are, 25 feet plus, and 20, 25 feet plus, and just try to get it as close to the hole as I can. On those, I'm not trying to hit it past or short. I'm just trying to get it as close to the hole as I possibly can, because those aren't putts that you're really looking to make. Those are putts that you're looking to two putt, basically. So I'll work on that. And then basically I'm ready to go. As far as stretching and things like that, I honestly, I'll be honest with you, I don't do any stretching whatsoever. Basically, my stretching and getting loose is, when I'm on the range. I'll take I'll take some practice swings just to kind of get loose and things like that. But that's the extent of my stretching. I don't do, I'm not getting on, my backside and reaching for my toes or anything like that. It's just something I've never done. I've never really felt the need to do it. I'm not a real flexible person. That might be why, but that's what I do. Now, if I'm not going to the range, right? If I'm just showing up, walking out of the car, walking to the first tee, maybe have time to get a couple putts in, then typically what I'll do is I'll just take a bunch of practice swings. I'll work shorter to longer and longer and longer, and just kind of build up the speed. So that way, you're getting the blood flowing, you're getting things working. I might do some of these where I put the club kind of out here and try to get as much turn as I can initially. Just try to get things moving, get the knees, the ankles, the hips, the shoulders, getting everything kind of moving. I'll just do some stuff like that, but I don't do any actual kind of static stretching. I guess you would call it dynamic stretching is more of what I do. I would say swinging the club, taking practice swings with the club is a form of dynamic stretching. So that's basically what I do. As far as, a stretching routine or something like that, for me, it's really going to be an individual basis. You may need something like that, but I would say the things that are, you're using your whole body basically. So, it starts from the ground up, right? So if your ankles are really tight, you're going to be tight throughout, right? If your knees aren't able to move around, then you're going to compensate somewhere else. So that's what I would look at is, I would maybe look at getting assessment from a physical therapist or something like that, some sort of fitness professional, something like that, and see, what kind of mobility you have in your ankles. Are you able to get your knees? How much are you able to get your knees out over your toes? Because ankle mobility is very, very big for golf, right? So if you can't move your ankles, it's going to be difficult to move anything else. And then if you can't move your hips, it's going to be difficult to turn your back. So it kind of starts from the ground up. That's what I'd be looking at. And if you have specific problem areas, let's say, your back, your back is good. Your shoulders are generally pretty good. They don't need a lot of attention, but maybe for you, your left knee needs a lot of attention, right? So you may need to get some work on your lead knee. So fortunately, there's no way for me to know what your problem areas are, nor am I qualified to give you anything like that to work on. But I would look for the guidance of a professional near you that can give you an assessment on what's going on with if there's any problem areas. So Judd M says the low spinning chip shot. If I open the face, the ball goes too high, even though it is back in my stance. Thoughts? You need to hit the ball low on the face. So low on the face is going to give you that low trajectory. You basically want to hit it thin. Now it's not a high percentage shot because you have a good chance of actually hitting it thin. So it's a shot that you definitely have to practice. Now if you get the face open and really turn through the ball and kind of cut across it a little bit, that's gonna get that lower on the face strike a little bit easier. The best lies to hit that low spinner on is a really tight, firm, and dry lie. That's the best lie. You're gonna get really, really spinny shots off of those because the if it's dry, you're not getting any moisture on the face. If it's really thin, then if it's really thin lie, tight, then you're going to be able to get that. There's nothing holding up the ball for the club to slip underneath the ball. You're going to get that low on the face strike. So open up the face and look for the low spinner shot. You can only really hit it off of a tight, thin lie. Otherwise, it takes a lot of control of your low point to be able to do that. So Jerry B says, looking for a tip to get into better lag position the way Clay teaches in the lag training series. Really what it comes down to, the best tip I can give you is to work through the drills in the top speed lag course. That's what I would tell you. Work through the drills in the top speed lag course. That's what I would recommend doing. I wish there was some tip that would get you to magically do it, but you got to go work through the drills. There's, that's what it comes down to. So John R says, how was your round on Friday? Low expectations usually means a good score. Speaking of that, what is your pre-round planning? Played all right. Actually, had 4 birdies. I was pretty happy with that. Had a couple big holes. It was a place I'd never played before. But yeah, it was a fun round. Nice day for sure. But yeah, I thought it went pretty well. I was pretty happy with the way that I played. As far as pre-round planning, hopefully you got to see the earlier part where I kind of went over. I didn't have quite enough time, nor the amount. They didn't really have a lot of range balls there, so I wasn't able to hit as many shots as I'd like to on the range. But got some extra time on the putting green, which was nice because the greens were really nice. It was if you ever get a chance to play Shingle Creek, it's in Orlando. It's a pretty fun course to play. They're actually having a U.S. Open qualifier there today. I was playing with a few buddies that were qualifying. So, or a buddy of mine that was qualifying. So, but if you ever get a chance to play, it's fun. It's a fun course. Greens rolled really nice. Some of the better greens I played in Florida for sure. So George M says, I am hooking my driver a fair amount. What can I try to stop from happening? I've tried a weaker grip and did not help. So you're on the right track with that. So basically a hook is caused by the face being closed to the path. What that means is the direction the club face is pointing at impact is closed to the direction the club head is moving through impact. The other thing that can cause the ball to hook is a toe strike. So these would be the things that I'd be looking at. So you're on the right track with the weaker grip because that does it can help you to get the face less close to the path, but it's not necessarily just going to do it. Sometimes it can do it. It can just do it, but not always. You may sense that you have a weaker grip subconsciously and then close the face, right, more to compensate for that. So if we understand why you're hooking it, it makes it a lot easier to get rid of it. So the best way to get rid of your hook is to learn how to hit a slice. That's what I would try to do first. Is I would just try to slice a ball like crazy. So a way to do that would be to swing to the left with an open face. That's what I would try to feel like you're doing. Swing to the left with an open face. Right now, you're probably swinging to the right with a closed face. So we need to swing to the left with an open face. Try to hit a big old slice. And then if you do, then just ease off it a little bit to get it to straighten out. If you hit it straight now, you're on the right track. You may be surprised to realize that feeling like a slice yields a straight shot. But that's what you need to feel like right now, most likely, to get that to straighten out. And if you actually do it, then I would just ease off of it. The other thing would be a toe strike. If you're feeling that club really twist in your hand, so if you're a right-handed golfer, that club will be twisting clockwise in your hand if you hit it off the toe. And that can also cause a hook. Because what happens is something called gear effect. So when you hit the ball on the toe, the face will twist open, and that will make the ball start more to the right than it normally would, but it will also make it curve from right to left more than it normally would, or it will make it fade less than it normally would. You could hit a ball with a slice swing, hit it off the toe, and it might go dead straight, right? So those would be the two things I'd be looking at. And if you're hitting it off the toe, what I would try to do is I would just try to hit it off the heel. All you're doing is changing your intention. That's really the best way. The best way to fix anything in the swing or to fix anything with your ball flight is to change your intention to the opposite. So if you're hitting it off the toe all the time, try to change your intention to hitting it off the heel. If you're hitting hooks all the time, change your intention to hitting slices. That's really the easiest way to change things. Now, a lot of times, it's the best way because you'll intuitively change the way that you swing the club in order to match that intention, right? So if you're trying to hit the ball straight, but you look like this, right? You're swinging too much from the inside with a closed face. And I tell you, well, what would you do to hit a slice? Well, you would probably go like this, right? You probably have that club more on plane and more square because to you, that feels like a slice. But the reality is is that it's probably on plane, close to on plane, or with a square face. So it's really changing your feel to get the desired result that you want. Now, there could be things that you're doing in your swing that are making it very hard to do that. For example, maybe you're staying angled away too much, right? You're overshallowing the club. You're kind of dropping your right shoulder and coming in like that. Well, if you tried to feel like a slice and you still do that, it would be very difficult for you to do. And that's when you would look at technical things that might be happening. And we have courses on the website that can help you with that. So we do have a never hook again course, as well as a never slice again course. So if just changing, I'm telling you, just changing your intent, adjusting your feel to get the desired result that you want, it's going to be the easiest thing for you to do. And if you can know why it's happening and then know what intent you have to change to make it happen, that's going to be the best thing for you. But if that still doesn't help, then I would be looking at a course like the Never Hook Again course to get you with some physical, technical drills that may apply to why you're hooking it. So that's what I would check it out. If you want to check out the Never Hook Again course, click the house icon at the top of the page. That will take you to the homepage. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. You'll see a list of all the courses there. Select the hooking course, the Never Hook Again course. So James says, any suggestions on timing release of club? I'm struggling to find right tempo, hooking it left or leaving face open and locking it, and I think he means blocking it right. Every once in a while, I get a nice draw, which is encouraging. It's hard to say without seeing your swing. If you're having trouble timing the release of the club, it's most likely because you're coming down steep. So if you're coming down steep, you'll tend to stand up and release the club early. So basically you'll get here and then you'll kind of throw and flip, right? That's most likely what's going on. If you have that club right here, basically already shallowed out, already on plane, you're just turning through, there's no timing. That club's just going to be on plane and it's going to be square. There's no real timing mechanism. But if you have that club off plane, you got to jerk around to get it back on plane, and then you got to close the face. Things become very timing based. So my guess is that you need to work on the move, which is getting that club on plane and squared up as soon as possible in the start of the downswing. So if you want to check that out, click the instruction tab at the top, then click the top speed golf system, then click the move. Beyond that, unfortunately, there's just no way for me to know why you're having trouble, getting that release timing down. But most likely, that is the case, is that you need to work on the move. Christine G says, get milk. Not sure what that has to do with. Let me go back. So milk for stretching, maybe? I'm not sure what that's in reference for. Jarrell F says, I am here. And says, I'm interested in speed training. I would like to know what type of program Q would recommend. If you want to do speed training, I'd recommend our 20-minute distance fix. That is our speed training course. And that is the course that I would highly recommend. There really hasn't been anything I have found out there that really combines a lot of the best things that we know. So the things that we know that gives you club head speed the fastest. So that's just creating more space and time to accelerate the club. So that's getting a bigger shoulder turn, getting higher hands, things like that. Getting better sequencing. So that's lagging the club and releasing the club correctly to get speed. That's also loading up in the feet properly and getting that weight shift to the sequencing of that correct, so on and so forth. So then lastly, the neural adaptation part, which Clay talks about in the 20-minute distance fix as well. So if you're interested in getting distance, I'd highly recommend checking out our speed training course. It's really the best way I found out there. And we're getting a lot of members with great results. So to check out the speed training course, the 20-minute distance fix, click the instruction tab at the top and then click the 20-minute distance fix. our members are generally seeing somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 13 miles per hour of gain on average. So for every mile per hour you gain, it's going to be about 2.6 yards that you get off the tee. So people are getting 30 or so yards extra on average on their best drives, which is huge. That can make a huge difference. Some people are gaining more than that. Some people are getting 20 miles per hour, and some people are getting 7, 8 miles per hour. But the average is somewhere in that 12 to 13 mile per hour range. So that I would set a goal for 10, and I'd highly recommend getting a club head speed measuring device, something like a PRGR or a Swing Caddy or a swing speed radar. There's lots of different ones out there, lots of ones to choose from. Personally, I like the PRGR. I think for the money and for what it gives you and the ease of use and the portability and all that stuff, personally, I think it's the best one. But there's a lot of them out there that do great. So if you want to do well on the speed training course, you want to make sure you have something to measure your speed. And Clay talks about that in the 20-minute distance fix as well, and where you can get our recommendations. So Kevin has said, struggling with sequence from full lag to straight release. Are there drills just isolating on that sequence? Sometimes I am too handsy, not opening the hips. Sometimes my arms race through. When do you turn club down to square club face? So that's in the start of the downswing would be when I'd be turning down the club, square up the club face. It's really throughout the top speed golf system. So you're working on basically you just need to keep working through the top speed golf system. That's really what it comes down to. There's not just one drill that I can give you that's going to fix all your problems. It's working through the series of drills, working through the entire top speed golf system to fix your sequencing. So if your spine angles are off, it can throw off things. If you're not getting a good full shoulder turn, you may be rushing the downswing, right? You may be casting the club to try to make up for the speed that you're losing from not getting a full shoulder turn. If you're not turning through the ball, the power turn is not just how much you turn away from the ball, it's turning through the ball as well. So if you're kind of just turning to the top and then throwing the arms, well, you're not going to be sequencing properly, right? Lag is the next piece. We want to make sure that we're lagging the club right behind in the start of the downswing. If you're casting from the very beginning, you're most likely not going to sequence correctly. You're most likely going to release the club too early, right? We have our compression line course where we talk about, we talked earlier about releasing the club with the legs. Clay talks about that in level 2 of the compression line course. Level 1, we talked about making sure that we're not bumping the hips out forward, that we're turning the hips out of the way, so that way we can get that club to release out in front. So, Kevin, I wish there was a way for me to know exactly what you needed to work on to get things working, but it could be one of all of those things. There's about 100 different things that could be going on that are making it difficult for you to get this sequence correct. So my advice would be to work through the top speed golf system. And if you'd like help with your swing, one thing I may consider would be doing unlimited swing reviews. Now, I don't have any spots available right now, but if you're interested, I highly recommend clicking the Get Review link and then scroll down to where you can join my waiting list. So that way you can get notified whenever I open up spots next. If you want a detailed plan on exactly what you need to do specifically, I can provide that through unlimited swing reviews. But unfortunately, unless I know what's actually going on with your swing, there's no way for me to know specifically what it is. It could be any of the pieces of the top speed golf system, among other things as well. So sorry, I won't be able to kind of pin it down for you. But if you want to do unlimited swing reviews and I could see your swing, you definitely make things a lot easier to do that. So Brian M says, I have a strong right hand at the top of the swing. The right hand takes over and cuffs the left hand, and I go way past parallel and can get loopy. Do I focus on shorter swing and my hand position, or on top, or work on posture and try to adjust my hands? If you're really, it sounds like what you're saying is that you're really throwing the club back with your hands. So I would just try to feel like there's no wrist set with your trail hand. You don't set the wrists until the downswing. And I would try to feel like it's as late in the downswing as you can. So basically what it may feel like for you is something more like this, right? But the reality is that it'll probably be more like that, right? So that's what I try to feel like, is that there's no wrist set in the backswing. You're just going wide and turning your shoulders. And then in the downswing is when you set your wrists and then release that club. That's what I would try to feel like based on what you're saying there. Christine G says, thanks for the advice, Q. Cheers. No problem. John S says, I find it easier to kick back with my trail leg as an alternative to kicking the clutch drill. Is this a good idea to improving footwork? I find it easier to kick back with my trail leg as an alternative to kicking the clutch. So when we're talking about kicking the clutch, we're talking about pushing with the lead leg to open up. If you're on your back, if you have all your pressure on your back leg, you're typically going to be hanging back and you're going to be getting a lot of chunks. So odds are that's probably not a good thing to do. You need to get the pressure going to your lead foot, so that way you can get the bottom of your swing to be occurring in front of the golf ball, so you can make ball first contact, and then you can use that to kind of clear out, kick the clutch and clear out of the way. Now, if you're hitting a driver, you may be able to get away with it because you're not hitting the ground and the club's bottoming out. You may be able to get away with it, but with an iron, we need to be getting our weight shift to our lead side, so that way we can make ball first contact. Robert Z says, at what swing speed should you consider using a stiff shaft? There isn't no specific swing speed. There's a lot of things that go into it. And not all stiff shafts are created equal as well. There's no standard for stiff shafts. One company's regular flex shaft may be stiffer than another company's extra stiff shaft. So it depends on what shaft you have, depends on the shaft profile, depends on a lot of things. So if you want to know what shaft is good for your swing, you really have to go and get professionally fitted, because there's just too many factors that go into it. Kyle Berkshire, he's the long drive champion. He uses a regular flex shaft, right? He has some of the highest club head speed in the world, 150 miles per hour plus miles per hour. Uses a regular flex shaft, right? So it's not necessarily about club head speed. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and to know what works best for you, I highly recommend going and getting professionally fitted. Now, as far as going and getting professionally fitted is concerned, a place that I would recommend, and I don't have any affiliation with them whatsoever, is Club Champion. You really want to go into a place that's going to get you on a launch monitor, put you in a lot of different shafts and different head combinations, and find the best thing that works for you. And Club Champion is going to do that. They're going to get you on TrackMan. If you go in there, it's crazy. They just have like a wall of shafts in there, and all the club heads, lots of things to choose from. You don't have to buy the club from them if you don't want. You can just go in for the fitting and then buy a club somewhere else if you want. Now you have to pay for the fitting, but that's what I would recommend doing. Like I said, I don't have any affiliation with them. They do have locations all over the U.S. I'm not sure about outside the U.S. We have one here in Orlando. I haven't been to that one, but I've been to one in Chicago. It was great. I've been fitted for a few clubs at them. I always had a great experience. So that's what I'd recommend doing if you really want to know, because otherwise you're just kind of guessing. If you don't want to go in for a fitting, it's completely understandable. It is a time commitment. It is something that you got to commit to doing. And if you don't want to do that, then it's really just about going in and just trying a bunch of shafts if you can, just finding what works and feels the best for you. So Gregory S says, are there any advantages or disadvantages to gripping short or long on the club? Yeah. So basically, if you grip short, or assuming what you mean is kind of like choking up on the club. Generally, I like to choke up on the club on if I'm trying to hit a certain kind of shot. So situations where I would do that is if I'm just trying to take a little bit of distance off. Like maybe I'm in between clubs. What I like to do if I'm in between clubs is I'll take in the longer club and I'll choke up on it a little bit. Unless I need to hit one that's high with a lot of spin. If I'm trying to hit one high with more spin, I'll take the shorter club and use the full length of the club and I'll hit it higher and it will have more spin because it has more loft. But if I don't need to do that, I will tend to use the longer club and then choke up on it to take a little bit off of it. So that way it's in between. So that'd be a situation where I would do that. If I need a little bit more control of the club, and I don't need to hit the full length of the club, then I will also choke up on the club, right? So a situation where I might do that as a fairway bunker, right? If I'm in a fairway bunker, it's paramount that the strike is really, really good. If you don't make ball first contact, and if you don't hit the ball in the center of the face out of the bunker with ball first contact, you're not going to hit a very good shot. So a lot of times I have a fairway bunker. I like to take extra club and choke down on it to give me a little bit more control of the club. I just feel like it gives me a little bit more control of what's going on. Now, if I need to get up over a lip, I may not do that if it's going to be close, but that'd be another situation where I do that. So yeah, there's definitely advantages to it. If you want to hit one higher and longer or with more spin, you want to use the full length of the club. If you want to hit one lower and shorter, you don't need a lot of spin, then choking up on the club it can absolutely help. There's definitely advantages and disadvantages to doing both. All right, so Ewan W says, do you recommend working through all the level 1 modules of the top speed course, or go to 1, 2, 3 in each of the modules, excuse me. You can do either or. I've seen people have success doing either or. So basically what Ewan's asking is, should you go to the stable fluid spine, then, do level 1, and then go to the power turn, do level 1, and then go to the lag course, do level 1, and go through all the courses, and then come back and do level 2 of the stable fluid spine. You can absolutely do it that way. Another way to do it is to go to the stable fluid spine and work through level 1, level 2, level 3, and then go to the power turn, level 1, level 2, level 3. Either way, it's completely up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. As long as you are, continuing and working through it and getting better every day, you're going to be on your right track for improvement. So it doesn't matter. I would do which one you would prefer to do, which one sounds the best and sounds like one that you would stick to. Some people I see that go through the level 1s because then you get a little something different. Level 1, level 2, level 3 are going to be different, but you're kind of working in the same kind of thing, but they're different levels of it, right? The different difficulty levels. Whereas if you work through, level 1 of the stable fluid spine, and then you go to the power turn, the spine, we're talking about how the spine angles work. And then the power turn, we're talking about getting it's a completely different thing that you're working on. And you may stick to what you're doing more if, you've done your 1,000 reps of the stable fluid spine. You may not be as excited to continue to work through the stable fluid spine. You may want, okay, I'm ready for something else. So I would say people tend to do all the level 1s first, and then the level 2s. But like I said, you can do it in any way that you want to. It's completely, really a self-guided program for the most part. All right, so Paul W says, I'm setting my max lag too early in the transition, which is causing early release. What drills or feels do you recommend to set the max lag minimum arm angle when my hands are shoulder height versus at the top of the backswing? Yeah, so this is a very common thing. What you're likely doing is you're setting the angle at the top and then releasing it. So what I would try to feel like is that you probably heard of the wide, narrow, wide drill for lag. So the wide, narrow, wide drill is where we go with the club head. We're thinking about the club head here. The club head making a nice wide arc in the backswing, and then it makes a narrow arc in the downswing, and then it makes a wide arc in the follow through. Well, the problem is with that, most people who try to do that drill actually start to narrow the club too early. So what they'll do is they'll go wide, and then they'll go narrow, and then they'll go wide again and wide through impact, right? Or maybe even kind of narrow after impact. So what I would try to feel like, I know this may feel uncomfortable or wrong because it's going to feel like casting, but what I would try to feel like is that you're actually going wide in the backswing and then also wide in the start of the downswing, right? So you're going wide You're going wide, wide, narrow, and then wide. Because what you need to do is you need to get this angle to be smaller as late as possible in the swing. You want it to happen here, but what you need to feel like is that it's actually happening, way down here where that angle is getting the sharpest. And the way to get that proper feeling is to go wide, wide, narrow, wide. That's what I would recommend doing. So what I would do first is I just do some pausing reps, just like I did there. Go wide to the top, wide in the start of the downswing to lead arm parallel, and then I'll go narrow to hands above the golf ball, and then wide out in front. That's what I would try to feel like. I almost feel like the Tommy Fleetwood as you're coming out here with your hands in the club in front of your chest when the club's parallel to the ground. That's what I would try to feel like when you're coming through there. And then once you get comfortable with that, I start doing some really slow fluid reps. So wide, wide, narrow, wide. And I'm telling you, it's going to feel like you're going like this, right? But the reality is it's probably going to look more like that, right? Where you have your really wide, and then your arms start down, and then it narrows really, really late. So that's what I would try to feel like you're doing. It's going to be uncomfortable at first, but once you get used to it, you'll get improvements there. So John R says, I think Kristen's get milk comment was helping you with your wife's grocery shopping list. Oh, okay. We actually don't buy milk. I can't drink milk, and she doesn't really drink any milk either. So, no, we're a milk-free household. Sometimes we have almond milk. So Scott Hart says, I use your wide, wide, narrow, wide. Oh, there we go. So somebody else using. I'm on the course with some success. Do you think I will lose distance playing that way? No, you should actually gain distance by getting the lag. And I wouldn't do it on the course without practicing it. Now, when you're working on changing the way that you move, if you just take it to the course and just try to do it on the course without practicing it, honestly, you're asking for disaster. You're just asking. You're asking for it, basically. The way that you make real changes in your golf swing is to get out on the range, do the reps, set up the video camera, see if what you feel is actually real, and then work through it in that way. That's what you got. That's what you got to do. So I wish that I could just give you a tip, and then boom, you're going to start getting lag and striping it like a tour player on the course. And you should start going to Monday qualifiers and stuff like that. But it just doesn't work that way. You got to work through it in that way. And you should be gaining distance. So if you went to the course and you lost distance, odds are you're probably not doing, what I talked about there, or your strikes weren't very good or whatever, because your speed should go up when you increase the lag in your swing, because basically you're getting this club more behind you. So you're getting more, basically the club is traveling the same or a longer distance in the same amount of time. So when you cast the club, you may be right here, and your club is only traveling from there to the ball, and when the hands go from this leg to that leg. But when you have lag, right, when your hands are at this leg, your club is there. So now it's twice as far from the ball, but it's going to get there in the same amount of time, right? So if it's getting there in the same amount of time, it has to be moving faster, right? So you got to work through things that way. So Kevin S says, thank you, will do. No problem, Kevin. John S says, great explanation on footwork. Gracias. De nada, John. No problem. My high school Spanish skills. I only basically know that. Thanks and you're welcome. Brett E says, best drill to stop the slide on my downswing. I'd recommend working through the compression line course. The other thing that I would feel like is that your left hip is staying down lower. A good drill that I like is typically when you slide, your hips are going up like this, right? So what a good drill to do would be to take an alignment stick and put it through your belt loops. And then the start of the downswing, feel like that alignment stick is staying pointed down as long as you possibly can, right? Because when you slide, that alignment stick, if you had it here, is going to go up, right? So what I try to feel like is that your hips stay angled down. You're getting to your lead side, the hips stay angled down. And if they do that, you're going to turn the hips out of the way, right? And that's going to prevent the slide. So I try to feel like your hips are angled down, and then you push them back out of the way as you're coming through contact, and that should help with the slide. Beyond that, I'd be looking at the compression line course and working through the drills there. To get to the compression line course, click the instruction tab, and then click the Top Speed Golf System, and then click the compression line and start working on the drills. All right, so Timothy S. says, is the compression line vertical or slightly away from the target line? My original understanding is whether it should be pretty much directly above the ball. Thanks. Depends on what club you're hitting. If you're hitting a shot off the turf, anything from vertical to just slightly angled away a few degrees is probably going to be a good area. There's some other factors there in play here, but in general, anything from straight up and down vertical to very slightly angled away a few degrees is going to be just fine. Now, if you are very much an early releaser of the club, then I would try to be more on the vertical side, because when you early release the club, the club's going to tend to hit the ground sooner. So to compensate for that, I would try to get your compression line more vertical. And then when you get to the straight line release course and start improving your release, you can start getting a little bit more angled away as you're coming through. Now with the driver, you want to be more angled away. That's going to promote more of an upward angle of attack. I've seen tour players as much as 10 degrees angled away with their compression line with the driver. Now that's a lot, but I've seen tour players be be that much. So you want to be angled away, slightly angled away, a few degrees to 5-6 degrees, somewhere in there is going to be fine with the driver, because that's going to promote more of an upward angle of attack. And you also typically are going to have a wider stance with the driver, right? So you're coming in and you're going to be more like this. Whereas an iron, you're a little bit narrower and you're getting more forward to get your ground contact more in front of the golf ball. Whereas with a driver, you're trying to stay kind of behind the ball, so that way you're bottoming out and then working up into the ball. So Eli S. says, is there any reason to get fitted while you are adjusting to the TSG system as a whole? Does the fitting not change if your swing changes? It might change a little bit, but not much. Listen, if you're someone who here's how I look at it. Basically, if you want to get new clubs and you want to go get fitted, then go get fitted. Don't just go. If you're waiting around for your swing to be perfect and just right, that day is never going to come. Nobody in the history of golf has got their swing exactly where they want it and has really thought that it can't get any better. Nobody ever. The best players in the world are working on things in their swing and in tweaking things and things like that. So get fitted for clubs, and also you can always get things adjusted. It's not like once you're fitted, that's it. They can, when they make the clubs, they bend them and things like that. Now, there is probably a finite amount to how many times you can bend a club over and over before it fails, but it's not twice. It's probably quite a few times before it fatigues so much that it's going to break. And honestly, if you go somewhere like a Club Champion, they make the clubs there, right? So, I think what they do, and I don't work for Club Champion, but I think what they do is I think that they order this like the stock club, and then they build it there. Like they make it to the proper specs, so that way they know that they're giving you the they've used all their machines to get to where it needs to be. Now, if it's off, or at least this is what they used to do. I haven't been there for a fitting in several years. But if something is off or you want to get something adjusted, I know within a certain amount of time, you can come in and get that done for free. I don't know if they do that anymore, so don't hold me to that. But even if it did cost something, it doesn't cost much to get, let's say, for example, let's say that right now you're in early releaser, kind of early extension, and you have, the toe down, and you get your clubs to be 2 degrees upright. So if that is the case, then you can get those made a little bit flatter later on, maybe get them back to 2 degrees to get them centered, by the time you get to where you're actually getting the heel in the ground too much. It's a very simple and easy procedure to do. And, the shafts probably aren't going to change much, even if you gain 5 miles per hour of club head speed. I mean, you would have to gain a ton of club head speed to really actually need to change your shafts, right? And even then, I've played the same shafts since I was in college, and and when I was in college, I was swinging maybe 105, 110 with my driver, and now I swing 115 to 120 with my driver typically, and it's I play the same exact irons. I don't play any different iron shafts. I've been playing the same iron shafts for 15 years basically. So it's not even though my speed has gone up a ton, I really haven't changed my equipment that much. So if you want to get fitted, go get fitted. That's what I say. Don't wait around for your swing to be where you want it, because I'm telling you, as someone who's worked on their swing for pretty much their whole golfing life or worked on their game, you're never going to get to a place where it's where you want it. You're always going to be trying to do something. So basically, if you have that mindset, then you're never ever going to get fitted. You're always just going to have the same clubs. So if you want new clubs, you want to get fitted, just go. So Ed D says, my hips are open 45 degrees at impact, but I'm having a ton of trouble getting my left shoulder cleared, causing my arms to flip chicken wing after impact. How can I fix this? So I would really try to feel like you're getting here and pulling that handle up through impact. That's what I would try to feel like you're doing, because your hips may be opening, right? But you may be kind of coming into contact and flipping the club through. So I feel like you're pulling the club through with your lead hand and pulling the club up like this, pulling the club up and around like that. It's hard to say without seeing your swing, but what it sounds like is that you're getting the body open, but then you're flipping the club. You're kind of coming in like that. So you need to get those hands low, right, and pull the handle up through contact, and really feel that the first 3 fingers of this lead hand here, so pinky, ring, and middle, feel that pulling up into the left through impact instead of kind of a flip through impact. Get the hands pulling the club through impact, towing the club instead of pushing it through. And that's in the straight line release course. It could be the move course. It's hard to say what's leading up to that without seeing your swing, but that's what I would try to feel initially. And I would look at the straight line release, the move course, for other things that may be going on. So Emmett R says, just started the program and the distance fixed videos have helped my consistency, but you still have problems squaring up the club face. Only 1 out of 3 balls are usable. So one thing I may consider would be the move. That'd probably be probably your best bet. The move is about getting that club face squared up and that face shallowed out on plane earlier. So that's what I'd be looking at to help you get a little bit better with that. And like I said, it's a lot of these questions, unfortunately, like it really requires, to give you the answer that I know is going to help you, it requires me to see your golf swing and to see what's going on. Because a lot of times, the problems that you're describing, there could be so many things that could be causing it. So, the move is probably going to be something that will help you. So I'd be looking at that, getting the face square earlier and the club shallowed out. It certainly couldn't hurt, that's for sure. But beyond that, like I said, I'd have to see your swing. You may want to consider unlimited swing reviews if that sounds like a good idea for you. If you're interested in that, click the get a review link at the top, and then you can join my waiting list. So that way you can get emailed in the future. But if you want to check out the move course, click the instruction tab, then click the Top Speed Golf System, then click the move, check out the course, and look at your swing on video. See if it kind of matches what Clay is talking about there in the move course. So Jarrell F says, Q, every now and then I'm hitting my third shot into a par 5 with my 56-degree wedge. For some reason, sometimes I hit the ball thin, which will cause the ball to go over the green, will probably be the culprit when that happens. There could be a lot of things going on there. So one, I'd look at your setup. I make sure that ball is roughly about in the middle of your stance, or just maybe a hair forward of your stance. If we have the ball too far back in the stance, then your margin for error is going to be quite a bit smaller. So you need to, because you're going to be chopping down on the ball. If you have it too forward, that club may be bottoming out right before the ball, and then you end up with the thin shots. So that's what I would look at. The other thing that I would look at is really feeling like everything's kind of coming through together. When I see a lot of people hit wedge shots, they just kind of do it with all arms. And you can see when I do that, how my body isn't moving, and I just kind of flip the club. So I need to feel like my whole body is involved with this, right? And I'm really turning my hips into this. And I'm not feeling like I'm throwing the arms at all. I'm going to feel like I'm more turning my body into the shot. And that allows the club to come in nice and shallow. Beyond that, what I'd recommend doing is checking out our wedge series. We actually have a wedge system that goes over the setup and goes over drills that really help you to control these things a lot better. So look at your setup, make sure that ball's roughly in the middle there. Get your weight forward, and then feel like everything's kind of coming through together, like you're turning your body back and through instead of all arms back and through. Not saying that you're using all arms, but that could be, that's a main culprit that I see with these kinds of shots. So check out the wedge series as well, the wedge system. To get to the wedge system, click the instruction tab, click the house icon, and then scroll down on the home page there. You'll see a list of all the courses. Select that course. So got a couple more questions here, and then we got to wrap it up. So Eli S says, I have noticed my left wrist is cupped in my backswing. Any specific drill you're feeling to concentrate on? Having difficult time keeping that left wrist flat. So I try to feel like that club face is staying pointed down toward the ground, right? So the reason why we wouldn't want a really cupped club face, or you can have the wrist cupped, it just makes it more difficult to square up the face. So what I would try to feel like is that club face is staying square the entire time. The club face is staying pointed down toward the golf ball the entire time when you're bringing it up. So you're kind of going like this, cupping the wrist. You can see that club face is pointing up. I try to feel like the club face is kind of staying pointed down as you go up to the top, and that should help out quite a bit with the wrist issue. All right, so last question here is from Ken P. Says, what part of the lower body should initiate the downswing to assure the arms and hands will follow to create lag, prevent the hands from flipping the club? Clay seemed to indicate shifting the weight back to and down on the front heel to then pull up to complete the release. Yeah, so what you need to do is you need to get in the start of in the last part of the backswing, we need to be pushing off of the trail side. You should almost feel like you're falling to your lead side, like I'm falling down, right? That's what you want to feel like. So you're here, I'm loading up, trail heel, trail heel, trail heel, and now I'm going to be pushing off as I'm getting up to the top and feeling like I'm falling to my lead side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive with this lead leg initially in the balls of my feet, and then I'm going to push and drive into the heel to get everything opening up as you're coming in. So that's what I would try to feel first, that you're loading up and then getting to the lead side. It's almost if you were a pitcher throwing a ball, right? You're loading up, exploding forward, and then releasing the ball, or throwing a ball sidearm. It's kind of the same kind of feeling. A great drill for this is the step drill. That's what I'd recommend doing. A step drill, you start with your feet together, you start the backswing, and you start stepping forward. So you're getting that sense and feeling of that falling forward that I'm talking about and getting pressure in that lead heel. A great video for the step drill is BR014. If you go to the search box in the upper right-hand corner, you can search BR014. So that's Bob Ryan 014, and find that how to start the downswing video where Clay demonstrates the step drill. All right, thanks everybody for joining me. We'll be back here tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Everybody have a good rest of your evening, and I will talk to y'all next time.